An exclusive interview to NDTV today, Canada's Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who's visiting India, said his country is closely cooperating with Indian and American authorities in the Rana investigation. Tawahur Rana is a Canadian citizen. Mr. Harper also talked to us about other key issues like a civil nuclear deal with India, which he says could be ready in just a few weeks. He also said that despite concerns by opposition parties in his country, the Canadian government is not worried about the safety of India's nuclear installations. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much for talking to us on India Decides tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is your first ever visit to India. How has it been? How has it gone?
Well, it's been a great trip. I've just got a little bit of a flavor of the diversity and complexity of the country, and also a sense of the really rising power of the country. It's been a fascinating visit, and I frankly can't wait to get back and see some more of it.
Talking about the specific areas of cooperation, yesterday after your talks with Prime Minister Singh here, the Prime Minister said you had very fruitful talks on how the two countries can cooperate on combating terrorism, for example. Can you throw some light on what kind of cooperation that would be?
Well, it will be involved, quite frankly, increasing dialogue between our security personnel. As I said yesterday, Canada and India share common values in what is an increasingly interdependent and dangerous world. Because we share common values, we also share common threats. As you know, the biggest act of terrorism in Canada was the bombing of an Air India flight linked to extremism in this country. And of course, 2 Canadians died in the Mumbai attacks last year. We face very much the same threats, and it will be increasingly important for us to cooperate, and also increasingly important, I think, for us to project our values. I know India has been somewhat shy about projecting its values, but the fact of the matter is the vibrant nature of Indian democracy in an emerging country, I think, is an important attribute that this country will increasingly want to profile as it moves forward.
So more intelligence sharing, you think, would be the crux of this new
We're going to have some further discussions. Prime Minister Singh and I agreed there's going to be a number of follow-up meetings between our officials coming out of this, and certainly we've identified a real gap in the nature and depth of the security and intelligence cooperation between our countries, and we're going to explore that in more detail.
Now, Dr. Manmohan Singh yesterday said at the press interaction after your meeting that he had taken up the case of Tawahur Hussain Rana, the Canadian national who is of Pakistani origin, arrested by the FBI in an alleged terror plot. What exactly did the Indian side seek from you on that?
Well, I will never discuss a specific case. I can just tell you, as you know, these individuals have been arrested. One individual is Canadian, arrested in the United States. The government of Canada cooperates very closely with the United States in cases like this, and we will obviously extend that courtesy to Indian authorities.
But if you could share with us, you said that that Canada is already working very closely with American authorities in this case. Yes. Are there any further linkages at all to Canada in this case that have come up?
Well, we cooperate very, very closely with American securities on all kinds of American authorities on all kinds of security and defense issues. We are in a military alliance with the United States, not just in NATO, but specifically in NORAD and specific continental security and defense cooperation that is very tight day to day. But no, I can't share with you any additional information on this case. It would not be appropriate.
But has there been any additional information that you've been able to convey to the government here on this case?
I cannot answer that question. I will just tell you that we keep in close cooperation, close communication with our allies.
But you will be working closely with the U.S. and with India on this case?
Absolutely.
We believe an Indian investigator, in fact, is in Canada as we speak. The other big story that's come out of your visit has been the non-signing of a civil nuclear deal, because there were a lot of expectations that when you came here, we'd have a civil nuclear deal in place. Are there any hurdles? Why is it taking so long?
Well, we have signed on this trip an important agreement on energy cooperation, on research and development in clean energy and in the energy field. On energy, as you know, Canada, we have a perfect synergy here. Canada is a country of vast energy resources with a relatively small market. India is a country with a large and growing market and with a deficiency of energy resources. We're anxious to conclude this, but there is some work to be done.
Tuba.com